day of F1 Academy 2024 has arrived in the bright, vibrant city of Barcelona. We kicked off the weekend with a 40-minute practice session, and it was action from the go. Lola Lovenfoss is recovering from an injury at the moment, as is Dorian Path. But it was Nerea Marti who did a solid performance in qualifying. A little moment there for Jess Edgar into the gravel, but it was Alpine Academy driver Abby Pulling who put it on pole position not once, but twice. So round 3 of F1 Academy kicks off in just a few minutes' time. It has been a remarkable start to the weekend for series leader Alpine's Abby Pulling, who secured herself not 1, but 2 pole positions for the weekend. So we have been soaking up the sun, but in a few moments, racing will get underway. The track is 4.6 kilometers in length, 16-lap dash to the finish line. And this 14-turn circuit has a perfect mix of medium and high-speed corners and plenty of undulation. Barcelona always provides plenty of action, and no doubt we will be treated to some today. My name is Nikki Shields. Alongside me in commentary box is Alpine simulator development driver Jordan King. Jordan, we're looking at 2 greats there on the grid.
Yeah, long-standing time in motorsport, as now Susie Wolf, the managing director. I think I've got that one right. I'm the managing director of F1 Academy. As we see the rear wing of Chloe Chambers.
So it's looking like the weather isn't quite so good as it has been over the course of this weekend. We are expecting a little bit of rain tomorrow, but let's take a look at the starting grid as racing will be getting underway in a few moments' time. So it's Aurelia Nobles who is down in 15th. She actually had a operation on her wrist earlier, so that could have dampened her performances in qualifying. We've got Carrie Schreiner in 14th, Amna Alquabazi, who won here last year, in 13th, Maya Vug in the Ferrari colours in 12th, Emily de Houch, also a race winner last year, in 11th, Lola Lovenfoss in 10th, Jess Edgar, British racing driver, in 9th, Leah Block, a phenomenal performance for her best qualifying of the season so far, in 8th, Hamda Alquabazi in 6th, Tina Hausmann also her best qualifying in 6th, Bianca Bustamante will be starting in 5th after that first podium for her last time out, Dorian Pat in 4th, Nerea Marti improves on her qualifying in 3rd. Chloe Chambers will be starting from the front row of the grid for the first time. And Abby Pulling, yet again, her 3rd pole position of the season. Jordan, it really has been a flying start for Abby Pulling. She just seems untouchable at the moment. She's just built that momentum from the first race weekend and continues to impress.
Yeah, she's done a fantastic job. Pole again. Luckily for her, unluckily for Dorian Pan, getting that injury, her closest championship rival. So, yeah, let's see what she can do today. You know, maybe this longer race, as you mentioned, Nikki, there's a few injuries out there. So, you know, will the drivers manage to, you know, deal with the pain, the struggle that they're going through? Some of them might be fine. Some of them might start to hurt halfway through. So that might be an interesting twist to the tale of this race.
Let's talk about the track, because this is very different to what the drivers had to tackle with in Jeddah, and, you know, the walls, the constraining walls of the tight circuits of Miami as well. This is a track that I think some of them feel a lot more comfortable with. Also the fact that we had pre-season testing here, they know it quite well. The drivers that did F1 Academy last season also have already raced here. It's going to be quite different, I think, their approach to this race weekend.
Yeah, this is the first more normal circuit, let's say. You know, it's a permanent race venue, as they're now going to start their formation lap, but permanent race venue. They've all been here before. If they've not tested here in this car, they'd have tested here in other cars throughout their time in the motorsport world. So everyone knows it. As you see in Formula One in qualifying, the grid's separated by tiny margins because it's such a well-known circuit. It's been used as a testing circuit for years and years and years. And you know, these drivers now will have a bit more confidence here. They know the circuit. They don't have the walls, as you mentioned, in Jeddah. And yeah, hopefully they can start to stretch their legs a little bit and actually, you know, get into a canter and a sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, we've seen a fair amount of overtaking in the first 2 rounds. This track, again, it doesn't lend itself so much to overtaking. So track position from qualifying, absolutely critical, which again turns our attention to the start of this race. How important is it to get a good start here in Barcelona?
Yeah, as you mentioned, Jeddah, although it's a street circuit, lots of straights, making it a little bit easier to overtake. Miami, same big long straights. We're here, actually, you've only got one really long straight, and everything else is quite twisty, medium speed corners, which you lose downforce, so it will be harder to overtake. I still think we will see a decent amount of overtaking here. We saw some great overtakes at previous weekends, so I've got full faith in the drivers being able to send it up the inside, so to speak, on the opening laps. But yeah, that qualifying is super important in Barcelona, and then getting off the line, and it's a long run down to turn 1. You know, it's probably one of the longest in the season. So if you get a bad start, you're going to be feeling that pain all the way down to turn 1.
Yeah, I think the start-finish straight is 1,047 metres long, to be precise. So it's going to be so critical to get it right. Also, let's talk about the fact that this is the 3rd round of the season now. Abby Pulling, she's got a 35 points gap at the moment between herself and Diane Pat in P2. We're not quite, but we're getting close to the midpoint of the season, 7 rounds in total. So someone is going to have to start to take charge of this championship and catch up with Abby Pulling before she, you know, creates a gap that makes her untouchable.
Yeah, well, as much as Abby's trying to put a stamp on the championship herself, and you know, she's doing that in great fashion, everyone else wants to do that. You've got 14 other drivers chasing her down. As we've mentioned, this long run, you gave us a great number there, 1,047. There you go. Number down to turn 1. So there's going to be action here, and Abby needs to focus on making sure she gets that good start. But all the drivers behind will be getting in that slipstream. These cars, these F1 Academy cars, do slipstream well. You can see quite a lot of overspeed. No DRS, so it is a pure overtake for these drivers. And yeah, the nerves are now going to start to build as we see Nobles coming into her grid spot. Got to look for that yellow line.
Yeah, indeed. So at the front, Abby Pulling, alongside her for the first time, Chloe Chambers. It's all eyes on the lights, poised and ready to race. And F1 Academy is underway in Barcelona.
Dorian Pan stalled.
Dorian Pan, second in the championship, has stalled, but it was a great start from Abby Pulling, who looks to have the lead of the race as we're going down into turn 1, but side by side now with Nerea Marti. Nerea Marti made a great impact there. A little bit of contact between Nerea Marti and Chloe Chambers. Chloe Chambers dropping back there, jostling for positions in the mid-pack, but it looks like the rest are all safely through the first 2 turns.
Yeah, I thought that was going to be a spinner at the front with the contact we had at turn 1, but got away with it. Chambers now in 2nd place.
Well, that was a great start there for Abby Pulling. She instant reactions there, managing to pull away. Nerea Marti also capitalised on that. Chloe Chambers, obviously the first time she's been at the front row of the grid, maybe didn't maximise the potential there. We're now, yellow flag out in Sector 2. A big moment between Maya Vug and the Visa Cash App car of Amna Al-Qubaisi. Both of them look like they are out of the race. We will get another replay and see what happened, what caused that.
Safety car has been deployed there. They look like they were both beached in the gravel there. So we have to see what happened, but 2 into 1 probably doesn't go. That's normally what happens when you see 2 cars in the gravel. So yeah, let these nerves settle now. They're going to start weaving the tyres, try and get some more heat into them. The tyres are still going to be cold. They've not had many racing corners, not even racing laps, racing corners here. So drivers are going to have to work the tyres really, really hard, get that temperature in. Hopefully it's a short one, but we'll see.
There's all that anticipation, all that build-up, and then you have a safety car. Let's just make sure that both drivers can get out of the car safely. Obviously, we've got the marshals there assessing the situation. They will try and get those cars moved out the way as quickly as possible.
It looks like now it's the second driver saying I'm okay, but it looks like there's been pretty decent damage on that side pod there and the right front of Vug's car. So There's obviously actually been quite heavy contact as we see Zach and Stephanie on the McLaren pit wall. Here's the launch, here's Pan's really poor start. Maybe she didn't quite stall, but at least had to dip the clutch again. You see Chambers stays behind Abby. I'm really surprised she didn't go for the move. She backed out, but then right down to the apex, she stuck her nose in, a little bit of contact. Luckily, they got through. Now let's watch back towards the back of the field now with the red car. Oh, missed it. So here's Marty off the line. Good start for her. She tucks in behind Abby, then goes to the outside with Chambers coming up on her right-hand side, all the way down to turn one. It's the long run we were talking about. Doesn't quite have the confidence to go around the outside. Goes to tuck in and wait for the hit, and there was the hit.
That's going to cost what it did cost, didn't it, Chloe Chambers' time? And the question is now, can she recover that position during the course of the race?
Yeah, so Pan actually got off the line and then bogged down, so I wonder whether she did have to dip that clutch back in to stop the stall, as we've got Bustamante in front. She's got the popcorn out, ready to watch this incident. She was hoping there was something going to happen. Nothing did. Everyone manages to get through. Hausmann, first time I think in a couple of race weekends, has actually made it round the first lap, because in Miami she crashed both times. And if we look back at the red car, up on the inside for Vug and bounce into the outside of Alcobazi.
So tough, isn't it, when you're out of the race this early on the first lap? We have seen quite a few.
I think she might have got a hit from Dorian Pan behind, actually, which caused her to then go wide.
Take a look at this.
We might be able to see it now from Nobles. So watch Pan in front of us here. You've got Boog right on the inside. She goes to the inside on the curb, and I think she tries to back out of it, but then Dorian Pan hits her. I think it's...
Oh my God, I almost crashed.
Well, almost crashed. Lucky Aurelia Nobles manages to continue the race. We can see a frustrated Hamna Alkabizi there. You know, so much work and preparation goes in, and then not to be able to complete the first lap. Very frustrating.
Yeah, it was quite hard to see, actually, what caused her to go right. She was turning left on the curb. Didn't see like much happen. I don't think Dorian Pan did actually make contact with the rear, but yeah, maybe just bouncing over the curb, lost the steering wheel, and then went right into Alkabazi. And yeah, Noble saying, I almost crashed. She managed to avoid it all, but she's now at the back of the field, or back of the runners, in 13th place. As you can see on the left-hand side, Dorian Pan's lost 8 positions with that bad start. Let's keep an eye on her when we go green. I'm sure she's going to be trying to catch up. She needs to catch up with her main championship rival up in first place. But you've also got Vug now, who's third in the championship, out of the race. So yeah, maybe the pressure off a little bit from your challengers behind, but you don't want to let Abby run away with this championship at the early stages.
Absolutely. Also, I think a reminder of just, you know, we talk about how important qualifying is in track position for the race result, but also just to make sure that you're out of the melee, the incidents that tends to happen in that mid and rear pack. You know, several times, like Tina Hausmann, for example, she got caught up in other incidences that have taken her out of the race. So we can see Maya Vug there walking back to the garage. Not the day that she wanted to have. She is, as well as racing for Ferrari in this series, she's also the first female Ferrari Driver Academy, and was picked up in the FIA Girls on Track Rising Star programme.
Yeah, I think you touched on a very good point there, Nicky. As well as qualifying at the front to help your race, it gets you out of that trouble. And we've seen time and time again, not just in this championship, in every championship, you qualify in that middle, you're in the mixer.
Let's go down and hear from Tina Hausmann, who we caught up with earlier in the weekend.
Well, I think there's always a chance for a safety car, but yeah, you need to stay calm, you need to think, you need to prepare the next few laps after the restart. So it's a good moment to calm down for a moment and process everything.
Some wise words there from Tina Hausmann. Calm down, process what's going on, and get ready to restart. Although the safety car is going on for a couple of laps now, so do you think they're getting a little bit impatient?
Yeah, I didn't think it'd be this long. Obviously struggling to get those cars untangled and get the cranes to lift them out, as we see under investigation for the Turn 5 incident, which has put us under the safety car. But yeah, when the nerves are all really high and the adrenaline's pumping and the safety car comes out, as Tina said, it's sometimes quite nice to just take a breath and relax. But then once it's been 2, 3, 4 laps, it gets boring. We all want to go racing. You want to start challenging everybody. You've been weaving the tyres. Your arms are probably getting tired because all you've been doing is weaving around for 20 minutes. And then we can see the last car there. So hopefully we're going pretty soon as the JCB, there are other diggers available, is reversing out the barriers.
You mentioned there, you know, weaving the car. How tiring is it racing these? Well, let's take a look at this replay. What happened with Aurelian Ovals?
So it's right on the left-hand side. I think, it was actually contact on the back of Lovenfoss, which damaged her right front tyre. That's what sent her right. So I missed that first time round. Have a look here against Lovenfoss, a bit of contact, and that's what causes her to go left, go right.
I had a really good start. I don't know why she just smashed into me.
Well, we know now. But it is a big moment, a big spin there. The impact of that is going to be, well, it's not ideal. I just want to talk about quickly what it's like driving these cars, because they're sort of equivalent of an F4 car, 1.4 litre Tatus car. How tough is it to drive? How much training do these drivers have to do to be able to tackle these races?
Well, the G-force is high. You know, if you imagine in your road car, you jump on the brakes as hard as you can. That gives you about 1G, and that's as hard as you can press the brake in a road car. These cars will be up at 2-3G, so 2 or 3 times that, but that's lateral, so your neck, your shoulders, the steering wheel's heavy, there's no power steering, you don't have any servo assistant on the brakes, so you've got to press the brake as hard as you can, you've got to turn the wheel as hard as you can, while the G-force is trying to throw your head out the other side of the car. So yeah, they're very, very physical, and training is super important. A lot of these drivers will have trainers that travel with them, or the support team provided by the F1 team back at base, back at home. In the week, they will be training hard.
174 horsepower available for each of these drivers. We're now looking at the rear wing of the Tommy Hilfiger car of Nerea Marti. Home race for Nerea Marti, and we've got to say big congratulations, because since our last race, Nerea Marti is now married and her husband is here to support her this weekend. So clearly having family around is bringing her the extra support and the extra tense needed to get her into position in that great qualifying result starting from P3 for her. Let's hope that correlates to a nice podium finish for her.
So there we go, that was Alcabase's car being lifted over the barrier. Hopefully this lap, my fingers are crossed, hopefully this lap they can say it's going green. If not, it will be one more lap, I reckon. So it's been a long safety car, came out on first lap and we're now on lap 5. So coming up towards a third of the race distance behind safety car, but fingers crossed it's going to be green soon.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on what Tina Hausmann can do in this race weekend, because she was saying that things weren't feeling quite so good for her in the free practice session, but saw a massive step forward in qualifying and obviously qualified in P6. So I think she feels like she's got a lot of potential at this track. She actually really enjoys this track, says it's one of her favourites. And I think, you know, where she currently is in the championship, which is P11, doesn't really reflect necessarily the performance that we would have seen from her in those first couple of races. She had those 2 early retirements in Miami, so we can expect some good things, I think, from Tina Hausmann this weekend.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's got herself caught up in some incidents that might not have been her fault, and actually she should be slightly higher up in the championship. But now she's in a good place. She's sick, didn't have the best getaway from the line, but in a good place to capitalise, score some good points, and actually start to work way up that championship. We've now got the safety car coming in this lap. As we saw Abby down the start-finish straight there, weaving and all the rubber flying off the tyres. So you drive around a bit slower, you pick up some rubber, pick up the debris, and you've got to get that off your tyres. That then creates some marbles, which makes it harder for the drivers. The racing line becomes a bit smaller. But now she needs to start planning. When is she going to go? Are her tyres warm? Are her brakes warm? What's her plan? What's her plan to start this race?
Yeah, and of course, you know, Abby Pulling had already pulled away and was building up a nice little gap between her and Nerea Marti, but that gap has gone, and she's going to have to rebuild it once again with only 10 laps to go.
So you've got to watch the safety car now. Those lights on the top, they will switch off. Once those lights switch off, Abby becomes the de facto safety car, controls the pace, can drop back, can... There you go. So now look, Abby's going to back off. Safety car goes off into the distance. Now let's see when she goes.
What position on this track would you pick?
I would go out of turn 12, which is this next right-hander. So this is 10, 11, and then 12 here, this right-hander. I would go on the exit here to make the last 2 corners as hard as possible.
She really is weaving around there to get maximum, and she's gone. So we are restarting the race here in Barcelona. Race round 3 of F1 Academy, and it's Abby Pulling in the lead already, making a nice gap between herself and Nuria Marti in P2. Chambers 3rd, but Bianca Bustamante 4th, Hamda Alkabizi 5th, Tina Hausmann 6th, Jess Edgar 7th, De Hausch in 8th, Block 9th, and Lovenfoss in 10th. So we're going racing once again with 10 laps to go.
Yeah, we've got in the background Edgar having to go to the right-hand side to actually make the move on Hausmann. So Hausmann must have had a bad exit out the last corner. Jess Edgar makes her way up, but Abby Pulling, great start, great restart there, pulled away, and it's actually Chambers that seems to be putting a bit more pressure on Marti at the front, as we've now got Hausmann under even more pressure.
Yeah, so this is Chambers' opportunity to shine. So side by side between the Red Bull and the Aston Martin. Emily De Hausch there, race winner from last year, maintains her position ahead of Tina Hausmann. Tina Hausmann weaving behind her.
So like we were singing Hausmann's praises under safety car, she's had a terrible restart, gone from 6th down to 8th. Now she's under pressure from Leah Block. She doesn't know which way to go, right, left. She needs to start attacking, or she's just going to fall down this field, as Leah Block is now right behind her with a Lovenfoss ready to pounce again.
Right, well, as we always say, it's much better to be the predator than the prey. And Leah Block is very much coming for Tina Hausmann. Leah Block looks to the inside. Can she make a move on Tina Hausmann? Yes, she can. So Tina Hausmann there gets the position back, is fighting as much as she can, trying to get the extra performance out of the car to maintain track position. But Leah Block is all over the back of her, inching her way closer.
Really hard section now, super fast corner, dirty air following the car behind. You see all the rubber flying off the tyres. Doesn't look quite close enough, but needs to stay in that slipstream now. Tina really struggling to get those tyres going on this first lap. Abby's got a nice gap at the front with Marti under a bit of pressure.
Lovenfoss there.
Schreiner going to the outside.
Yeah, Carrie Schreiner there coming on. Lola Lovenfoss on the inside there, managing to make a move. Moves up a position, now side by side with Dorian Pat. Dorian Pat also getting through. So Carrie Schreiner dropping back 2 positions.
Yeah, so Lovenfoss had to go defensive there. Schreiner attacking, went to the outside, couldn't quite get the move done, had to back out, and then Dorian Pan pounced. Said, thank you very much, that's a nice easy place, while she now goes up the road to try and get past Lola Lovenfoss.
So Abby Pulling now 1.2 seconds ahead of Nuria Marti, but now we can see the wing of Charlotte Tilbury car with Lola Lovenfoss and Dorian Pan just behind.
Yeah, so I mentioned that Dorian Pan might have made a bit of contact. She has. She's got a bit of damage on her front wing, so that was probably that lap 1 incident, or she's trying to recover from a poor start. If you remember, she had a bad getaway from the line, as Bustamante now starts to look like she's putting a bit of extra pressure on Chambers after that early pressure she applied to Marti at the front, is now starting to drop back, with Bianca now closing up onto that podium spot.
So Chloe Chambers, what an opportunity for her to be on the podium for the first or the second time this season. Of course, she had that incredible podium in front of our home crowd in Miami in that first race in Miami. She did just miss out on pole today, though, and I think afterwards did say, although she was pleased to be starting from the front row, was a little bit disappointed. I think it was just 2 tenths between herself and Abby Pulling.
So here we go. Here's this battle again with Dorian Pat, looking defensive from Lovenfoss to the outside. Can't make it stick just yet, but managed to get a nice exit through 1, through 2. Now the fast right-hander of 3. Your front tyres scream here. They get very hot, and you start to generate understeer when you follow cars. Now down into turn 4. Can't get the move done just yet.
Dorian Pat, what an incredible pedigree of racer she is. A lot of experience in both single-seater and in sports cars. She is, of course, also a member of the Iron Dames team, but had to drop out of Le Mans recently because she's also recovering from an injury. She managed to fracture one of her ribs when she had a biking accident. So that's perhaps also one of the reasons why maybe we didn't see the full performance from her in qualifying. And this is obviously the first time she will have been racing whilst recovering from that fracture.
Yeah, maybe a little bit game rusty, so to speak, having a few weeks out, but she goes, have a look at the inside, doesn't quite get the move done, as there was a false start penalty for Jess Edgar, 5-second penalty for a jump start. That's going to ruin her day. That will drop her outside the points currently. Hopefully the field will stretch out a little bit and she can still stay in the points, but right now it is still hotting up with Lola Lovenfoss in 10th place. This is the last point score. Oh, it's a good last corner for Dorian Pan. She got really tucked in nicely there. Has got a nice exit. She gets a slipstream. Lovenfoss is going to have to go defensive here, otherwise Dorian Pan will get up the inside.
Yeah, she's inching her way closer and closer. Can she make the move here at the end of this long start-finish straight?
So we had two going. We had Hausmann having to defend in front from Leah Block and Dorian Pan trying to go to the outside of Lovenfoss, 2 by 2, but they stay in the same order for another lap.
Speaking of injury as well, Lola Lovenfoss is also recovering. She had a fracture on her thumb, so she's been doing a lot of recovery work, but did get signed off for the doctor, obviously, hence why she's racing now. But yeah, it's been a few injuries during the course of the last, since the last race.
Well, Hausmann still not managed to really get going into this race. She's 2.5 seconds behind the car in front, so she's not managing to challenge. And look how close Leah Block is, really putting a load of pressure on her there, with then Dorian Pan just behind them as well, as we've seen Hausmann struggling to get going after the restart of the safety car. So it all seems to be kicking off at the lower end of the points, and yeah, this is so important for these drivers who haven't yet scored points or have scored fewer
little
points.
Look there from Leah Block. She is just desperate to make that move. And now almost side by side between Lola Lovenfoss and Dorian Pan. Is Dorian Pan going to make the move? Yes, she can. She's fought, getting closer and closer, and finally Dorian Pan has moved up into a points finishing position, into P10.
Yeah, that was a great move. She forced Lovenfoss to go defensive into turn 10, went round the outside, held her there, and then eventually had the inside line for the next corner. But look at Leah Block now, right behind Tina Hausmann. Is she close enough? Getting in the slipstream. Last lap round, they were side by side into turn 1. I think a little bit, has a little look to the inside, but not close enough. Tina does have to cover the line all over the inside curve for Leah Block. Gets a really good exit through 2. Can she stay close through turn 3? Because turn 5 is your next opportunity. Down the hill, left-hander, you can dive to the inside if you're brave enough.
Well, some great racecraft to see from Leah Block here, who's been putting in as much practice as possible since our last race. She also had a race in the Spanish F4 Championship in Portimao, which she said was a great experience, and they're all laps that count. And she's really, she said she wanted to come this weekend and just avoid making any errors, because we have seen a few mistakes from her so far. Let's have a look at the replay here and whether or not there was a false start from Jess Edgar. Keep your eyes on the American Express car on the left.
That was... I couldn't see it. That was
We have that replay again,
I mean, we couldn't see the lights, but it looked like she moved at the same time as everyone else. But they're electronic sensors, so if you false start, you do false start.
Yeah, we trust the technology in these situations.
So that move for Dorian Pan has put her up in the points. That's 1 point for her, critical for her championship. She's now got great pace. Look how quickly she's closed up onto the 2 in front. But Leah Block literally pushing Tina Hausmann around the track. She might even have a go into the last corner here.
Just some brilliant wheel-to-wheel action here from Leah Block, trying to get a maximum amount from the tyres, the maximum performance.
Leah's
from
the one
cars.
under pressure, though. Leah's going to be really under a lot of pressure. She didn't get the best exit out the last corner, but Dorian Pan did. It's going to be 3 abreast.
Well, that is going to be interesting as we're coming down into turn 1. It's side by side for Pau and Block, and Pau manages to push forward and is now on the hunt for Tina Hausmann.
Yeah, Hausmann went in a bit deep as well. She had a bad exit through 2 and 3. Look, she's now wide as Dorian Pan's got a fantastic drive out of 3. It's going to be Hamilton versus Rosberg, but they think better of it. They don't carbon copy what they did here a few years ago. Underneath, though, look at the exit she's got. Underneath, can she brave the inside dive into turn 5? No, Hausmann covers the line. They're going to have a little run down now into turn 7 and 8.
Well, brilliant wheel-to-wheel action there between the Mercedes liveried Dorian Pau and the Aston Martin of Tina Hausmann. Of course, these 15 cars have partnered with the F1 teams, 10 F1 teams, and then have 5 additional sponsors, but they are run by the works teams of Rodin, MP, Campos, ART and Prema, who are all part of feeder series into the race to F1.
Look at how much more pace Dorian Pan comes. We've got the replay here. So Leah Block did have to go defensive. Pan goes up the inside. Hausmann covers off Leah just enough, but goes in deep. That's what I was talking about. She goes in deep, then gets a bad exit, which allowed Dorian Pan to really close up. But look how fast she is now. Through the last corner, gets tucked up on the inside, doesn't lose that front wing with the wash of the aero.
Well, with 3 laps still to go, there is plenty of time to change the order at the moment. So at the moment, Abby Pulling is still... Well, let's take a look, actually, what's going to happen. Dorian Pau there, looking to the inside as we go down into turn 1. Doesn't quite have the pace to match Tina Hausmann at the moment.
No, a little bit too far back, but Hausmann's going in really deep to all the corners. If you watch Dorian Pan, she managed to get a bit tighter, gets on the inside curve, gets the rotation and gets the exit, where Tina's just really trying really hard here to stay in front, braking late, missing apexes a little bit. So the pressure is starting to show for her. Can Dorian Pan, though, get up into 8th? Her pace is fantastic, but there's a bit of a gap in front with only a few laps left.
Yeah, 5 seconds between Hausmann and Hausch, which means if Dorian Pan does make that pass, it's going to be pretty hard for her to make it up to P7. But here we are, we can see race leader Abby Pulling 2.5 seconds ahead of home race P2 Nerea Marti at the moment. We've seen Abby Pulling do this before. Last time out, she was 5.5 seconds up the road from the rest of the pack, and she seems to be doing it again, really in control of this race. Such an experienced driver, particularly in single-seaters as well. Earlier in the year, of course, she became the first female driver to win a British F4 race. And it just shows the pedigree, though, of racers in F1 Academy this season. The best female talent in the world.
Yeah, she's probably the most experienced, as, again, this is round 3, I think, maybe round 4, as Dorian Pan now has a good exit. She is closer this lap. Look at that slipstream getting closer, closer. The gap is shrinking up to that rear wing on the Aston Martin. Tina goes defensive, Pan to the outside. She's on the grippier part of the race circuit. But no, you shall not pass.
I mean, it's brilliant defending from Tina Hausmann, you know, because Dorian Pan does seem to have the pace, and as you say, has the better line, but just can't make that move stick.
No, but she's run wide. She got up underneath her through turn 3. We spoke about the previous lap. On the outside, can she brave it? They're still side by side, out on the marbles. Look at all that sliding around. She's got it done. Now Leah Block is under pressure, putting pressure on her, sorry. Can't look up the inside. But what that does mean is actually Jess Edgar, who has a 5-second penalty, will only be losing 1 place at the moment. So Dorian Pan needs to get pushed on now. She might be able to gain another place. But Hausmann really struggling. Where she's sliding everywhere. She's picking up marbles on the tyre. Now Leah Block's going to be challenging for an extra point in this race.
Yeah, absolutely critical. Leah Block at the moment closes out the top 10 points finishing positions. Can she move up into P9? That would be her best finishing result of the season.
Yeah, well, Leah Block's only scored 1 point this season, so she gets this position. She's doubled her tally, and if she gets Hausmann, as we see the replay, so Dorian Pan manages to get kind of the up and under, gets underneath there, wide on all of the marbles, loses the grip. Look how wide she is there, comes back on, and Dorian's already got an overlap up the inside, and job done.
Job done indeed. So Nerea Marti there, followed by Chloe Chambers and Bianca Bustamante, seem to be having a little bit of a race of their own between P2, 3 and 4.
Yeah, so it's been a little status quo. They're close enough, but not quite challenging each other. No one's had to cover the line, defensive. I think that gap for Bianca has remained pretty similar to Chloe Chambers in front. As I was saying with Leah Block, though, she finishes here, she doubles her point score. If she gets Hausmann, she doubles her double.
Absolutely. I was going to try and do some maths, but never mind. I'll move on. So let's take a look. We've got just one final lap after this lap. We're on the 15th of 16 laps here in Barcelona. Abby Pulling 3.5 seconds ahead of Nerea Marti, Chloe Chambers, Bianca Bustamante, Hamda Alkabizi, Jess Edgar, Emily de Hausch, Dorian Pat, Tina Hausmann and Leah Block closes out the points finishing positions. Now, Bianca Bustamante is making up a little bit of time here, inching her way closer to Chloe Chambers. But Chloe Chambers is doing a great job showing off her racecraft. I think she said earlier in the week that, you know, potentially she's struggled a bit more in qualifying that one lap pace, but her race pace, her racecraft is just fantastic.
Yeah, it looks to be the quicker of the three here for second, third and fourth, but not quite got that speed delta to actually be able to make a challenge. I mean, as I say that, she's really in the slipstream, closing up, only 3/10 away, but I just don't quite see the pace difference to be able to get past.
So 3/10 at the moment between herself and Chloe Chambers. And now we are in the final lap of this F1 Academy round 3 here in Barcelona. So it's looking very likely, unless anything changes, that Abby Pulling could be taking her fourth win of the season, of course from her third pole position.
Well, the fastest driver on the circuit currently is Dorian Pant. She's just taken 1.2 seconds out of the house in front of her. Not going to catch Jess Edgar's 5 seconds just yet, but has currently just taken another half a second out of them in front. So if she keeps going, she's gone green in the first sector. If she keeps pushing as hard as she can, she might actually get Jess Edgar's 5-second penalty and get that place.
Yeah, well, we will find out in literally a few moments' time how the championship standings will look. So it's Chloe Chambers in P3 at the moment with Bustamante in the McLaren.
And Dorian Mann has done it. She's now 4.5 behind. So the blistering half a second in the first sector, half a second in the second sector has brought her within that 5-second window for Edgar. So that's an extra couple of points for her.
Fantastic to see. So this is the moment as Abby Pulling for Alpine crosses the checkered flag and takes her 4th win of the season. A dominant display from the British racing driver. A lights to flag victory again for Abby Pulling. It is Nerea Marti home race in P2, Chloe Chambers in P3, Bianca Bustamante 4th, Hamna Alkabazi in 5th, Emily de Hausch in 6th. Dorian Pat managed to move up. Fantastic result for her after dropping back and finishing in P7. Jess Edgar will of course get that penalty, has finished P8 with Tina Hausmann 9th, and Leah Block manages to take another point for herself this season and finishes P10.
Well, for Abby, that's another perfect race. Pole, fastest lap and win as we hear from her.
Come on! Thank you, guys. Oh, amazing as always.
Well, you've got to be feeling pretty good right now, haven't you, when you've taken 4 out of 5 wins so far this season. What a result for herself and the Rodin team, who have worked so hard to get the car, to get herself prepared and in this position. It's a moment to be celebrated and really enjoyed.
Yeah, she's putting her stamp on this championship, and 4 in a row. Podium every weekend.
That's a P2. That's a P2. Very well. Very well. Very well. Good race. Yeah, good race. You needed this one.
Yeah, good job. It was like P2.
So that's her best result of the year. Second, she'd have a third in Jeddah round 1, but wasn't on the podium at Miami, so back on to the podium for her, which is great. Post a really good week the other week, as you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it is a home race for Nerea Marti's team, Campos Racing. So double celebrations for them this evening, I'm sure. But no rest, of course, because we will be going racing bright and early tomorrow. Let's listen to Pulling's Radio.
How many fans stayed outdoors this?
So special to see, because of course this has been a jam-packed weekend. F1, F2, F3 on the schedule, as well as F1 Academy. So they've had to race really virtually into the evening. The last race to take place today, but the fans have stayed to show their support for these 15 stars of the future, the stars of today.
Yeah, Barcelona's always a proper race weekend. You've got 4 championships, and you know, back in the day, you'd have to get up at 2 a.m. in the morning. I mean, tomorrow, to these girls, unfortunately for them, their last race of the day at 5:50 local time.
Have you got any suggestions for a celebration? So I've no clue what I'm going to do.
Oh, I don't know. I could give some recommendations. I don't know a few bars in Barcelona. Have you got any spots you'd recommend?
I think she's more talking about what celebrations to stand on the car. What would you do, Nikki, rather than going out drinking in the bars in Barcelona? What would you do when you jump out of the car?
Oh, I'd do, you know, a couple of handstands.
Backflip.
Yeah, a couple of back, you know, easy. The splits, a little acrobatic performance.
But yeah, unfortunately for these girls,
What do you think?
they're back up in the morning
Yeah, bright and early.
6 a.m. to have another race. So yeah, they've been given the two ends of the bookcase, so to speak.
Exactly, and the same thing happened yesterday. It was practice very early and then qualifying at the very end of the day. But I'm excited to see what her celebration's going to be now.
It's a backflip. Ready?
Classic. Oh, well, a fantastic moment for Abby Pulling and the Alpine team there. I mean, she is, well, she's a really prominent figure in motorsport. You know, a huge role model for women, for girls that want to get into racing. The results just keep coming for Abby Pulling. But again, a great moment for the team. The celebrations.
Yeah, well, when you hit your stride in any sport, but especially motorsport, it becomes hard to beat. You know, we've seen it with Lewis Hamilton, we've seen it with Max Verstappen, you know, Michael Schumacher. When they really get going, you become impossible to beat. And right now, she is. That's 4 from the last 4 with only a second place. So, you know, we're looking good for the championship for Abby, but she needs to keep going.
Yeah. We did see earlier as well Alice Powell, who is her driver coach and an incredible supporter of Abby over the years to get her to this place. And she's had a really interesting career. Smiles for the camera there, right next to the P1. But, you know, she's raced in British F4 in 2020. But then had to pull out due to funding issues. But the resilience of her and her supporters got her into the W Series, where she finished 7th in her debut, even though she started just as a reserve driver. Then she moved up and finished in P4 in the 2022 season of W Series, and then of course moved into F1 Academy. Finished last year 5th, and now, well, it's looking very positive for her, isn't it?
I mean, look at the gap she's got from the cars behind there, so I'm sure she was chilled out, as we now see all the hugs and kisses from the Rodden crew. They'll start getting a bit used to this. It'll be like the Max Verstappen show, you know, winning every week. Well, he's not having all his way now, actually. He's not on pole tomorrow, so.
No, I know, big weekend for McLaren. With Lando Norris on pole position for a change, which is always nice to see. But who is going to stand in Abby Pulling's way? I mean, we did see a brilliant race there from Chloe Chambers. She really did put in, well, I think probably her best performance of the season.
Yeah, I think there's been good performances up and down the fields, and Dorian Pan had really good pace. So maybe tomorrow she can get off the line, you know, struggled today, dropped right down to the back and had to fight her way through. Finished 7th with that time penalty for jump start for Jess Edgar, as the girls now cool off in the driver room. But no, it's been good to see from everybody. As we said at the top of the show, it's now a bit more of a normal circuit. You know, it's a permanent race venue. Everyone's tested here, been here before, probably turned a few hundred laps around this circuit. So yeah, I think tomorrow it's going to be even closer for everybody as the field closes up as it always does over race weekend. As Alice Powell, all smiles for her.
Yeah, very well deserved indeed. But it's a shame that Dorian Pan obviously had that issue at the start of the race, because it would have been really interesting to see if Dorian Pan could have challenged these 3 drivers towards the top. But let's have a listen to what they're... we could have listened to what they were saying, but I was talking over it.
We're too busy. But now we've got the podium celebrations.
In third place, Chloe Chambers of the USA. Her 2nd, 3rd place this year.
So Chloe Chambers there for the Haas team, standing on the 3rd step of the podium. The 2nd time she's done that this season. A home race for Nerea Marti, a home race for her Campos team in the Tommy Hilfiger livery. Has her best result of the season in P2. And British racing driver Abby Pulling for Alpine will be taking her 4th win of the season, which puts her in a very dominant position. Listening to the British national anthem there, and now it's time for the trophies to be presented. Some more silverware for the trophy cabinet as the fans cheer on Abby Pulling for that result, watched on by Managing Director of F1 Academy Susie Wolf. And it's all smiles from the newly married Nerea Marti. Chloe Chambers lifting the trophy. Also all smiles for the Haas team. And now it is time to spray the champagne. Always seems like such a waste, doesn't it?
No, you could do if you like champagne.
I do like champagne.
So who's your driver of the day, Nikki?
Do you know what? I think my driver of the day has to be Nerea Marti. I think it was a phenomenal performance from her in both qualifying. She capitalised on the start of the race and managed to maintain that position. I think she did a sterling job. Who was yours?
I think you struggled to look past Abby Pulling. She didn't put a foot wrong there. Good start, covered her line into turn 1. Really good restart to safety car and looked quite comfortable at the front there. I think if she was under a bit more pressure, she could have found another gear.
Well, it's going to be interesting tomorrow because, of course, Abby Pulling is back on pole position. But let's take a look at the final results classification. So, Abby Pulling manages to take her 4th win of the 2024 F1 Academy season, with Nerea Marti in P2, Chloe Chambers in 3rd for the Haas team. Bianca Bustamante, another strong performance from her, finishing 4th, with Hamda Al-Qubaisi for Red Bull Racing in 5th. Emily de Hausch managed to improve on her position, finishing 6th. Dorian Pan worked her way up the grid after the mistake at the start of the race and finished P7. Jess Edgar dropped after the time penalty to P8. Tina Hausmann in 9th, and Aaliyah Block takes home her 2nd point of the season. Lola Lovenfoss, Carrie Schreiner, Aurelia Nobles, Amna Alkabezi and Naya Vug close out the top 15. So there you have it. That is the results of the